Welcome to the show where we unearth new ways of looking at ever-evolving life around the world, seen from a number of different industries, cultures, and backgrounds. But there's one thing that unites everyone I speak to. They all want to do their part to make the world better in their own unique ways. It's a uniting passion. Whether they're from the commercial world, third sector, or public sector, from the global north or the global south, my name is Philippa White, and welcome to TIE Unearthed. When disaster strikes, there are two things you can do: accept and become a victim, or turn the challenge into your superpower. Today, we are talking with one of the strongest people I know. Welcome to episode 57 of TIE Unearthed, with my sister from another mother, Catherine Wreford. I've known Catherine since she was pretty much born. We grew up together. Our houses were on the same street for a long time, and every year our families had Christmas and Thanksgiving together. Catherine was raised in Winnipeg, and she started her career as a performer. She performed at the Stratford Festival in Canada at the age of 18, and then she went on to play leading roles in many New York Broadway shows and tours. She then ran a mortgage company in LA and then became a nurse. At every turn, completely beating the odds. And life was not always easy, but she kept going in the face of significant adversity. But then the unthinkable happened. In 2013, when her daughter was 5 weeks old, she was diagnosed with brain cancer and given 2 to 6 years to live. She had an awake craniotomy, radiation, and 4 kinds of chemotherapy. But Catherine has never been one to take something lying down, and she embodies what a force of nature looks like. This is a story of hope, determination, and resilience, and proves the power of purpose. It's mind-blowing what she has managed to do and continues to do. So if you want to feel inspired and truly understand that literally anything is possible if you put your mind to it, keep listening. Grab that drink of whatever takes your fancy, and here's Catherine.
Catherine.
Yes.
This is a very special episode for our listeners. Catherine is basically my sister. We grew up together, and she will tell you the rest, and this will all come out on this podcast. She's a very special person in my life, and I am so happy to have you with us. Thank you for joining.
I'm so happy to be there. You're almost making me cry already.
I think there might be tears on this.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
On this episode. I am feeling very teary as well. This is going to be fun.
Okay, Phil, here we go.
Here we go. Catherine, before we get into all the emotional stuff, you're an amazing person, have always been a huge inspiration to so many people in so many ways. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your incredible background?
Well, I don't even know where to start. I grew up in Winnipeg with Phil and Cath and Ziggs, and this is where we started. I'm back in the city where we started. I'm in Winnipeg right now. I always wanted to be on stage. I wanted to do ballet or jazz or whatever. I just knew I needed to be in front of people. I saw a almost Broadway version, it was in Toronto, of Who's Tommy? And when I was there for the National Ballet, and I sat there alone and listened to the opening, which is like, ba-bam, ba-bam. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. So I came home and then immediately focused on musical theater. At 18, I went to Toronto, did the Stratford Festival, I did West Side Story. And then I'll just make it short. I got a job on Broadway, danced there for a while, moved to LA, did some movies, ran a mortgage company, went to nursing school, married my husband, have 2 kids, and now I'm back in Winnipeg. Is that short enough?
That's great. But that is a perfect introduction to what we're going to be talking about, because it is unbelievable. At school, Catherine was one of these people that was just always a bit like Zig. Zig was like this too. Zig is my brother, for our listeners who won't know who I'm talking about. You were so busy. You were dancing at high school. You were already really, really busy with everything. And yet you never seemed to ever study but got straight A's. I just never understood your brain. And to that point, dancing, and obviously we're going to get to this, but the fact that you then decided, I am going to do mortgage broking, and then just did it and did really well and made money. And then I'm going to do some nursing, and then just started working in nursing and studying and doing really well. I mean, it's just extraordinary. It's whatever you put your mind to, you literally do it. It's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, I think when you have my kind of brain and your kind of brain, when you decide you want to do something, it's like a challenge. If I give myself a challenge, I'm like, well, I'm not going to fail at that challenge. So,
yeah.
And then I just
star
have to
on Broadway.
Yeah, right? Well, so many people are like, only 0.002% people make it on Broadway. I'm like, well, I'm going to be that 0.002 person. And I think it was Lloyd Orris's dad, who told me that. And I saw Lloyd one time and I was, I'm that 0.002 person.
I'm not competitive.
I know, right? And I thought it was stuck in my brain. Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, that's funny. So before we start getting into all the crazy stuff, let's make it light right now. What comes to your mind when you think of a story of us?
One of my favorite stories is, I think you've already posted this online, when we did our fake wedding, when you were the groom, Liz was the bride, Catherine was the priest, and I was a witness.
You?
I was a witness. I wasn't wearing my own clothes. I was wearing, I think, your clothes or like Liz's clothes. And I was they were way too big on me. And I felt so proud of myself for being a witness. My other special memories are when we made the gingerbread houses.
Oh, yeah.
We used to, your mom used to make them. She would bake them and then we would put them together. Some of them were super intricate.
Yeah, I know.
Like these doorways. We had to build the doorways.
Yeah, they were extraordinary with the icing and sort of putting everything on, and then we'd smash them on Christmas.
And then we smashed them on Christmas, we hurt our hands all the time. Bruises on our hands.
Cut them.
The icing because it got so
blood.
Hard. Yeah. There's a bloody piece of gingerbread. You want to eat it?
I was thinking as well when I wanted to ask you that question, sort of what memories I have. I think of you and your dancing from when you were 4 or 5. I mean, you always were sort of in the living room doing routines. And
I remember you coming over and I was dancing around naked all the time.
All the time.
You will one day put on clothes. I'm like, no, you won't.
I wasn't sure if he wanted me to say that on this thing. No. It's so funny that it totally still was in my brain. I still
just dancing around naked.
Dancing naked all the time and tobogganing on the stairs, going down the stairs.
Oh yeah, that's how
you
Liz
didn't hurt
chipped
yourself.
Her tooth.
Yeah,
that's
insane.
How I made her go down with ski poles.
So what's interesting, back to what we were talking about, how you just put your mind to something and you do it. And you were on Broadway. What were the main shows that you
I did Annie Get Your Gun, 42nd Street in Oklahoma. I was on the 20 Awards twice with 42nd Street in Oklahoma. And then I toured as Peggy Sawyer in 42nd Street around the U.S.
It was your career. It was your life. You had given everything to it. Obviously, it speaks to your soul. Tell us what happened.
I almost severed my Achilles tendon on stage. Yeah, it sucked. I finished the number, passed out for our final bow. So that had to be taken to the emergency room. I came home to Winnipeg to work with somebody that your dad knew, physical therapist, specialized in dancers and sport. Was there every day for 6 weeks. Went back, but all I could do was do the show on ice my foot, and I was miserable and I was in pain all the time. I ended up moving to LA after that. I never expected to move to LA. I really didn't like LA very much, but we were on the West Coast, and I think my last show was in San Francisco, and then came back to LA and lived there, did movies and stuff like that. But I was never really satisfied with anything I was really doing because I was so passionate about being on stage, but my body couldn't handle anymore. I was doing 8 shows a week in high heel tap shoes, and my body had never had a break. So I stopped, had some different relationships with some famous people, and then realized I didn't want to be in that world. I'd moved into my own apartment. I didn't even have any furniture, with my 2 cats, sleeping on the floor, had my computer, and on Craigslist, there was a ad. They were opening up a new company and you could make thousands of dollars. And I'm like, bullshit. So I called the number late on a Sunday night. I'm just expecting to leave a message, but they were there because they were setting up the company. So I went in and they said, well, you're going to be on the phone. We're going to give you a list of people to call that have made an inquiry about a mortgage online or refinancing their mortgage online. So I'm doing cold calls. You don't get paid anything. It's just based on commission. So I started that day. I started calling these numbers and I took really good notes about who I was talking to and what their kids' names were and then I made a full sheet for them and I would call them back. And this was before you should never give your social insurance number over the phone. Go in, we would run their credit and then I would give it to Cyrus and then he would call them back. And at the end of the day, I said, so how did I do? Well, the normal person, when we hire them, can get 2 in a week. You got 15 today. Oh, cool. Can I try to close one? They're like, no, we don't allow that ever. So I came in the next day, and the very first one I got, I'm like, can I call them back and try to close them? Okay, sure. Done. And then I got like 5 more properties. Oh, okay. So, can you hire some people to work under you? So I hired a bunch of people, and then I had my own office, and it was just so quick. The mortgage world is not for everyone, and it was not for me either. You know, there was a lot of silly stuff I did during that time, and I decided that's not what I wanted. So I wanted to go to nursing because I'd always loved medicine. Also, like, thanks to your dad. I remember Catherine cut her hand on a sleepover. That's Phil's sister. She had cut her hand. We were carving soap, and she had sliced her hand.
Oh, I remember that.
Wide open. You could see like,
and you could see the globules. I remember that.
And your dad came over, gave her a shot, and sewed her back up. Can we still have a sleepover? And your dad was like, no. She's coming home. I was like, oh man. I love math. I love science. I love all that kind of stuff. And so I went to nursing school. So because I was going to school during the day, I needed a job sort of at night. I got a job at a super fancy sushi restaurant in Los Angeles. I'd never worked at a restaurant ever in my life. And so when I applied there, you're supposed to have 3 years of fine dining experience. They said, well, do you want to be a hostess, like somebody that kind of greets people? No, I said, no, I want a job as a server. So they hired me, and they hired me on New Year's Eve, and I started New Year's Day. It wasn't like a big crowd on New Year's Day. I was in a 5-week all-day chemistry course at the time. So I was doing chemistry all day. I had to learn the menu in Japanese. I also had to learn how to use their system, and I had to learn all the drinks. And so I just said a bad word, but I'm not going to repeat it. I guess I'll just go with it. So I just took every day, like one day at a time. Also, there was other stuff I was dealing with, my ex and blah, 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 blah. A couple days into working, I was serving Joel, my now husband. Little did he know that I was just a mess at that point. I told him everything that should have made him like run
in the other direction,
fast as he could. He was like, I was actually just waiting for somebody to be real with me. And so we started dating. You know, here we are 13 years later, and we're still married.
Yeah. So you moved to Oklahoma, and
moved to Oklahoma. So we got married in LA. It was just a fun party, and it was also kind of like a going away party from Los Angeles. So we had all of our friends there. And then so we moved to Oklahoma because that's where Joel's family are from. I'd done 2 years of nursing school. So I had gotten into the nursing school in Oklahoma. I decided to take a year off. I tested at the top of the class to get in. So I came in the next year. I was 30 at the time of my going back to nursing school because I was the oldest and I could apply for all these different scholarships. So I got paid to go to school. And then I graduated the top of my class. I was still pregnant with Quinn. I graduated May 10th. She wasn't born until May 18th. So I graduated 9 months pregnant, had Quinn on the 18th, was supposed to start studying for my NCLEX on the 25th, which is the day before my birthday. I was getting ready to start studying for that. Craig had come down for my 33rd birthday. And so we were filming a video of me doing exercises with her on the Bjorn and then lifting her up. And I had the worst headache. And I said, Craig, we have to stop. He's like, wait, what? Because he knows me better than anybody. I would never stop for anything. But I was in so much pain. I couldn't even function. I couldn't make words. I couldn't do anything. So I was like, I have to stop. I have to lie down. He's like, you have to go to the doctor. I just had a baby. I have a 2.5-year-old. I'm working. I'm fine. He left that Saturday. The next day, Joel was in the shower and I was showering Quinn, I think. And I was leaning against the doorway and I said, oh, I'm really dizzy. And he goes, well, go lie down. And the bed was 3 feet behind me. And instead of going to the bed to lie down, I just lay down on the bathroom floor. I didn't have a doctor. I called my midwife because she'd given birth to both babies. So I called her and she was at the hospital that I actually did some rounds at. So all the nurses there knew me. And she goes, you need to go to the emergency room now. I thought she was kidding. She's like, get there now. So, okay, fine. So Joel had gone to work already and Elliot was at daycare. So I went in and all the nurses there knew me. They hadn't met Quinn. Yeah, I'm still breastfeeding. That's why she's here and blah, blah, blah. And so then they did 2 EKGs, found nothing. And they said, well, maybe you have a small brain bleed because you gave birth naturally. So from the pushing. So they were sort of fighting over who would hold Quinn. And I went in for a quick CT. And when I came out, everybody's faces were white. And where's my daughter? Where's Quinn? They're like, just here for a minute. No, haha, very funny. Where's my daughter? Where's Quinn? Just wait, don't get up. Just sit here. And then doctors started coming into the room, and doctor said, you have a mass on your brain. They said, do you want to see it? I said, yeah, sure. And so they showed it to me, and it was bigger than my fist. And I said, can I call my husband? I just was in shock. And I just remember I couldn't find words for anything. I still can't even remember who I called and what I did that night. I had to go down immediately for an MRI, so I couldn't get Quinn back. So they gave her to one of the nurses, and then Joel came to the hospital with Elliot. He showed up with Elliot crying because he was hungry, and he had to go get a hot dog for him. And then I was still in the MRI. And so he got Quinn. And so he had Quinn, and there was no milk pumped. She was starving. And so she was crying, and Elliot was crying. And then this neuro guy came and talked to him and said she's going to have surgery, but she's going to have to be awake because it's right on her speech center. And my husband was like, oh, she's going to think that's cool. And
well, Joel
the doctor
does
was
know
like,
you.
The doctor was like, okay. Well, I don't think she's going to be thinking that. So I came back up from the MRI. He was explaining that I'd have to have surgery, and we'd get the best surgeon possible. And we were all crying. Unfortunately, you're going to have to be like, oh, that's going to be cool. And my husband was like, I told you. That was the first kind of laughter that we had during that whole experience. This is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have inside jokes that can help us through this. And so I ended up having brain surgery, an awake craniotomy, and then they weren't sure what they were going to do after that. So it was an anaplastic astrocytoma, which is one less than what your dad had. And I actually called you and Cath right away. You know, that time that we spent in Seattle with your dad and the family meant so much to me. And I just remember thinking, okay, he was so strong during that time, even when he knew.
He knew it was. And also the level of the brain tumor was, he had a year to live. And the treatments changed a lot since then as well. But it has,
but not very much. Not very much.
I remember though, when my dad was at the hospital and he was sick, I think you had sent the pillows. I wish I was in Paris, because he was supposed to be going to Paris with my mom and they couldn't go. And you had found these pillows somewhere, and you were going through a really hard time at the time. And you had sent these pillows. I wish I was in Paris. And my dad was so happy with these pillows. You have no idea. And we were talking about how you were going through a really, really difficult moment, and there was just so much change in your life. And my dad said, you know what, though, Catherine is one of the strongest people I know. And it's funny, right? Like he always, he loved you, but you,
I loved him too.
So
he was my other dad.
Yeah.
You know, he was a very, very special person.
To understand what is needed to transcend such a difficult situation, even when it comes to laughing at the fact that you're going to, I'm going to have an awake craniotomy. I remember you sending these emails saying, I'm going to have an awake craniotomy. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? And for our listeners, that means, maybe very quickly, just they were
touching my brain and having me count and move my left arm. Oh, and my right arm. I was pinned to the ground on my right side, put screws into my head to keep me from moving. What happens is they were touching my head and having me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, well, that's where it is, right? So I can't cut that part of her brain out, because then she won't be able to talk. And talking to them, like making sense talking. And so I'm not saying gibberish to them.
Yeah.
But even after that, the swelling of it, and they might have cut a couple things that they really shouldn't have cut, but your brain is so good at rewiring. Yeah. So I had to be in speech therapy all the time, and they were showing me pictures of an app, and I'd be, that's a horse. Oh, it's not a horse. That's a horse. Oh, it's not a horse. That's a horse. So it was just super frustrating. I knew I had total aphasia, so I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I just couldn't get it out. And I couldn't write anything. I couldn't sign anything. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever experienced. In my body, I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I just couldn't get it out. A year it took me to be able to talk a bit faster. And then it took me maybe 3 years ago where I could speak without thinking about it all the time. And then I still think about it sometimes, but not every sentence. I would lose my train of thought so quickly from one word to the next. I would be like, wait, what was I talking about? Wait, remind me what I was just talking about.
And just thinking of the fact that, one, you were obviously shortly before all of this studying like crazy and doing nursing and about to get into that. Before that, you were acting and needing to remember lines. It must have been just really, really...
It was really frustrating.
Awful.
Really frustrating. I would get really mad. I was grieving the loss of who I was. And that sucks because I'm still not who I used to be. I feel like I'm a better me. I'm grateful that cancer hit me and nobody else in my family. I don't think Liz could have handled it very well. I don't think my mom could have handled it very well. I don't think anybody could have handled it as well as I did. You know, and I'm kind of proud of that because I took it again as a challenge, right? This is what my challenge is and this is what I'm going to do. So we had that year of me in treatment and did 4 kinds of chemo, radiation, and I had a year to sort of figure out what I wanted to do. They gave me 2 to 6 years to live. I'm at 9 years now, so I always say I'm past my expiration date. But I mean, I live sort of MRI to MRI. The last MRI I had was stable, which is amazing, which means nothing is growing, nothing is changing. I have another one in September, so we'll just keep hoping for that too. I have a couple weeks going into the MRI that I get really anxious, and then that week that I don't know, I get really anxious. So it's a kind of a month of me being on a bit of a higher level of worrying. I took the NCLEX after I had my surgery because I was supposed to have it on July 5th, which is the day my surgery was. And I called, and you're never allowed to reschedule your exam once you've made it. And I said, I'm going to have brain surgery that day. Oh, yeah, we can change it. So they changed it to be September 16th. I thought that was a good enough time for me to recover, but I still couldn't really talk very well when I took the exam. It was a computer exam. So I went in and passed it easily and got my nursing certificate. And then I decided I don't want to be a nurse. I just needed to prove that I could pass my test. Yeah. So decided that I wanted to go back into performing, not just acting, performing, because that's being in front of a live audience. That's what gave me that. That was me. That's me. Yeah, I've always been that person. I've always done that.
Back to you dancing naked in the living room from a very young age.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show my kids that just because I have brain cancer, it's not going to stop me from dancing. So I started stretching. I started doing workouts that would help me get back into my dancer shape. I started learning lines. I had an audition for the producers, which was being done at Rainbow Stage. I knew 100% I
Rainbow
wouldn't get it.
Stage, for our listeners, is in Winnipeg, and it's an amazing open theater that I used to go to when I was little. And you'd watch The Sound of Music, or
you saw me in The Sound of Music.
I saw you in The Sound of Music.
16, I played Liesel, and I could actually say I was 16 going on 17. It's a beautiful theater, and I totally knew I wasn't going to get it. My hair had all fallen out because of radiation. So I was completely bald. I was super skinny because I was going through radiation and I couldn't really eat. And my voice was raw because of the radiation, killed my throat. And I just needed to have something. So I learned the song, I learned the lines. And because my short-term memory is completely gone, it was really hard for me. But my challenge was to go and audition. So we were still in Oklahoma at the time. I flew to Winnipeg. So I went into this audition and nailed it. And I knew they couldn't hire me because I was still in treatment. They couldn't hire me. And I was like, I know you're not going to hire me. I just need to do this. So I did it, and I flew back to Oklahoma.
That's incredible.
And then the next year I was there, I got Les Mis and did that.
Yeah.
And every summer since then, I've been doing that. And I've done quite a few things with Rainbow Stage and with them at the concert hall. I was Cassie in a chorus line. This was with MTC. I was Allison in Fun Home, which is the main part. And Elliot was the little boy in it.
Yeah, so I remember. It was like Elliot's Catherine's son.
It was great that we could do that.
This is what I just think is so inspirational and a huge message for everyone. 1, put your mind to it and you can do it. 2, life is hard and there's challenges, but put your mind to it and use that as a way to just grow and be better, and also be true to who you are. I often think that's what's saving your life, is that you are realizing who you are.
Craig and I had never done a show together, and the ballet called, so I know Tara Burtwhistle, she called me to offer me a Lady Capulet with Craig playing Lord Capulet in a ballet version of Romeo and Juliet. And it would be the first time we were performing together. We were alumni of the Royal Winnipeg Ballet. So Craig flew to Winnipeg and we put on this wonderful show. And at that time when he came, this was so much fun. How can we do this again? Well, maybe we should apply for Amazing Race Canada. We went to his hotel room, sat on his bed, and set up the camera in front of us and filmed this super long video of us talking and bantering and telling our story and cut it up into little pieces and sent it in. We sent that and we didn't hear anything for 8-9 months. And then we got a phone call while I was doing Fun Home. So we did it in February of 2019. And then November, we got a phone call saying, we need you to come in for an interview. I later found out the 2 people that were interviewing us, Mike Yerxa and Jesse Story, and one of them loves Broadway. So the fact that Craig and I had been on Broadway, but we were Canadian, I think really took him in. And then they just ended up loving us. He thought I looked familiar. And when he went home, he looked through he keeps all the playbills from every show he's seen on Broadway. So he looked through and he had seen me in 42nd Street.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. When the race was over, he took a picture of it and sent it to me.
How funny. So you were on The Amazing Race, and obviously we can't talk about
it. They've just they just aired the 5th episode. So we won the 3rd episode. So we won a trip to Bangkok and some Marshall cards and all that great stuff. And then we got COVID. So we were out for 2 episodes, but now it has us coming back on the 6th episode, and there's 11 episodes altogether.
There's some learnings, I think, with all of this. I've got just some questions to kind of wrap up because we're coming to the end, but there's a few learnings that I just think from someone who has done so much, been through so much, worked with so many incredible people, but also your best friend. I just think in knowing Ty and our listeners, and, this all comes to pushing through adverse situations, determination, resilience, the power of purpose, believing in yourself, believing in, what you're working towards and making that happen, and teamwork. I just think The Amazing Race is such a perfect example of pretty intense situation.
Yes.
Seeing some of even just the things that you have to do. I keep thinking, oh my God, I can't even imagine how you hold it together, and it's intense, and you have to kind of use your brain, and you have to think, and you have to respond. And talking about teamwork, I just think, do you have some takeaways or just some thoughts on that? And, what have been some of the hardest times working together, or, some of the things that you had to work through, and just the reality of working with Craig in such an intense situation? What could you tell our listeners?
So Craig and I have never been in a fight. We've disagreed on stuff. We've never, ever put each other down in a way that anybody could think we were putting each other down. Going from there as a team, we complement each other. The stuff that I can't do, he's really strong on, and the stuff that he can't do, I'm really strong on. But it also was like that was Craig sending me a message just then.
That's so weird.
So funny.
That's weird.
You can tell I was talking about you, Craig. We lived together in Toronto, New York, Los Angeles. We have such a strong bond that I didn't think it could be made stronger, but it was completely by this race. I could read his mind. So it was really super cool to be working with him and to be working with someone who I 100% trust. Just to be with someone who you trust so well is so great because it allows you to not worry about that.
What you said, and I just want to highlight it because I think it's just so important, and it just comes down to leadership in teams, is, we talk a lot about diversity in the corporate world, diversity and inclusion. And that word of inclusion even comes from a point of view that sort of suggests that, okay, I'm in a powerful position. I will include you, poor person, or vulnerable individual, whatever it is. And I think what's really important is actually a diverse team of people with different skills is actually something that is so important. It's not you're not doing anyone any favors, and you actually are benefiting from having a diverse team of people that have different life experiences, have different skills, know what you're good at so that you know who to hire because they need to be different to you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's really fascinating just about what you're saying is trust, empathy, love, support, belief. Yeah.
That's the other thing too. Like he always believed in me. The first episode when he had to climb that thing, he's going to do it. Yeah. I know he's freaking terrified, but I know he will do it because he wants to do it for me. I never doubted that he couldn't do it. He was shaking. He was so scared.
They managed to take out some cool snippets. That was actually really funny and really great.
Do it for Catherine. Do it for Catherine. He's so cute.
Yeah.
But it's just, if you've never tried anything, how do you know if you're any good at it?
Exactly. Now, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, obviously dance partners, and they had a really intense working relationship. And Fred Astaire explained after they worked together, robust arguments and are critical to successful working relationships. But yet he also said, we never quarreled. We argued about something, which you do with anybody you're working with, especially when you're doing a routine or dances or whatever. But we never quarreled. And I thought, that's really interesting because it does just remind me even of what you've actually just said about you and Craig. When you're working with people, you can disagree. You don't have to agree with everything. But I think it's that mutual respect. It's the admiration. If you lose that, that's when things start to crumble. But if you keep that, then that's how you can move forward. And I just wonder if you just have any thoughts on that.
Craig and I have always been that way. And I will never lose respect or admiration for him. And I think he feels the same about me, just what we've seen each other go through in our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that it is important, especially in like romantic relationship, you have to have that admiration, that respect for that person. And that's what Joel and I have too. I think the biggest thing is you have to respect that person.
Totally.
I was just having to say something else that you said about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Ginger Rogers used to always say, I do what Fred Astaire does backwards and in heels. So everybody talks about Fred Astaire, but that's what Ginger Rogers said.
So, Catherine, is there anything that you'd like to tell our listeners that I haven't asked you?
Well, I have a favorite author / he writes little poems, I guess, more like quotes. And there's one that I love. Yeah. It's Brian Andreas. And this is one of his quotes. They left me with your shadow saying things like, life is not fair, and I believed them for a long time. But today I remembered the way you laughed and the heat of your hand in mine, and I knew that life is more fair than we could ever imagine if we are there to live it. That, to me, just means get out there and live it. If you want to be a part of life, you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's a message to me personally, even though it's really not. But that's kind of how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And that's such a great way to end this. Catherine, it has been so nice. It's been really amazing just to connect because obviously I live in Brazil and you're in Winnipeg. And
well, let's have a wine date with our kids.
Let's have a wine date with
Zoom.
Our kids. Yep.
Okay.
We're going to do
great.
that.
Okay.
Catherine,
I love
you. Mwah. Mwah. And have a good dance at the Rainbow Stage practice, rehearsal or whatever you call it.
It's tech night tonight.
Fun. Yeah, very different to what I'm doing today.
Well,
so have fun.
I will have fun. Thanks.
Catherine, lots and lots and lots of love.
Yeah, you too. I love you so much.
Love you. Bye.
Hey everyone, this is Philippa again. I hope you enjoyed listening. Now this is your chance to get involved with TIE. If you work in the commercial world, whatever your profession, your position, or your experience, then TIE could be for you. You may have been in business for decades, but have always felt there's another way. Or you may just have a few years experience, but want to do more. Equally, if you want to create game-changing employees and see your company impact the world, we've got you covered. TIE has never been more necessary than right now, and you can be a part of it. Reach out to me at philippa@theinternationalexchange.co.uk and I can tell you more. Or join the TIE Accelerator info session for more information. apply.tieaccelerator.com. Better leaders, better companies, better world. I'm your host, Philippa White. This podcast has been co-produced by Berna Vieira and me, music by Berna Vieira, and artwork by Kelps Vahais. I hope we'll meet again soon.